Hi, what's up? I'm Channel Pup, the mascot for the level-headed fanboy, and today we're going to be discussing the upcoming Sonic Dream Team game ahead of its December 5th release date. I just want to say right off the bat, it is insane how much fresh new Sonic content Sega have been pumping out lately. I remember when we were all complaining about a massive Sonic drought post-Sonic Forces, and it's safe to say that after such a lengthy wait, Sega have not kept us waiting long for more, and have been consistently riding that wave of goodwill brought by things like Sonic Frontiers, and I for one have been loving all of it. Even if we didn't get a new mainline title this year, we've had around 6 hours of new content added to Sonic Frontiers this year, new features added to Sonic Origins, Sonic Superstars, which I still maintain was a fantastic game in spite of some disappointing bugs and some ideas that didn't work quite as well as others. And capping off 2023... I can't believe I had to check if it is 2023 or 2022, because 2024 shouldn't feel this close by. What is happening to time? Capping off 2023, I feel so old. We've got a brand new 3D Sonic title in the form of Sonic Dream Team from Sega Hardlight Studios. But it does come with quite a major hitch, which we'll also be discussing today. I might as well say what that is off the bat because all of you know about it already, but no, showmanship wins the day. We'll be combing through all the info and footage, and I'll be giving you my thoughts on this upcoming title. But first, if you love geeking out about Sonic the Hedgehog, my channel is absolutely the place to be. So hit subscribe, you won't be disappointed. There is tons of Sonic stuff here, and lots on the way too. If you're a bit more familiar with my stuff though, I do ask that you consider becoming a patron of the channel using the link in the description below, as it massively helps me with making this content possible and to a higher quality than normally. So obviously, if you can, it'd mean a lot. So dating back as far as mid-2022, god, the fact that that's far away now. Before we'd even gotten footage of Sonic Frontiers, job listings were spotted for Sega Hardlight to work on a new Sonic mobile title that'd kind of bridge zone the gap between the console Sonic games and mobile titles like, say, Sonic Dash. This game was to be a narrative-driven 3D platformer that'd be more up to snuff with, say, Sonic Adventure, a bit more substantial than the typical Endless Runner affair. Sega Hardlight Studios are pretty reputable at this point for making quality mobile experiences, most notably Sonic Dash and the mobile version of Sonic Forces, which is arguably considered to be the superior version of the game. This team have never really disappointed when it comes to Sonic's mobile experiences, so seeing them make the jump to a full-on 3D platformer excites me greatly, because this is such an ambitious task compared to something like Sonic Dash. And that brings us Sonic Dream Team, which appears to be a full-on 3D Sonic game in the most back-to-basics conventional sense I can really imagine. At face value, I'd say this looks most comparable to, say, Sonic Adventure 1's adventure stages, in that the level design seems to consist of fairly open spaces with that sense of linear progression. Like your typical classic Sonic fare, players can expect 12 new levels set across 4 different worlds. And I'm wondering if that means there's overall 4 themes, which I guess could be in line with Sonic Frontiers' cyberspace approach of having 4 different themes. Now, that could potentially be a little underwhelming, but we don't know what kind of scope they're talking about as far as worlds goes. It could be very unique areas of the same world. It could be in accordance with the art style. I don't know. There's quite a bit going on with these levels visually, so this could really mean anything. But sure enough, 12 levels is what we are looking at. So far as duration goes, maybe set expectations relatively low. Given that this isn't a mainline Sonic game retailing for the full price, I wouldn't expect a game as long as, say, Sonic Frontiers. But okay, if this is the future of linear, conventional 3D Sonic games, and that Sonic Team will be focusing on open zone titles as the mainline entries going forward, Honestly, I think everyone wins that way. I know that the subject of how long a Sonic game should be is something that people do kind of debate, because the classic Sonic games are not long games, but they're highly replayable ones. They are games that reward the player for continuing to engage with the stages after playing through the game once. Sonic games get typically better the more you play them and the more skilled you become, the more you understand the level design and Sonic's physics, and so on and so forth. And there are some who think they should just kind of stick with that. There are some that think, 2 hours is okay for a first run through of a complete Sonic storyline. And then there are others that do want Sega to kind of aim for Sonic games to be longer, more around the 10-hour mark. And it's been something that Sega have kind of struggled to figure out because, yes, nowadays there is an expectation for a game to be a certain length, but to meet that, they've sometimes put in things like padding or collection quotas, alternate playstyles that kind of pull away from the speedy elements of Sonic, because that's the thing is, when you are making a level for a character who can just blitz through the entire thing, you gotta make the level bigger. And a lot really goes into crafting levels that Sonic can actually get more than just a couple of minutes out of. So if you just wanted a continuous, level-by-level, linear Sonic game, these days the chances are it's not going to be very long. And with AAA gaming, there comes more expectations with how long this is going to be. If you want to know where I fall, okay, like a good example here is Sonic Forces. The game is only about 2 hours long. But then there is another Sonic game that is around about the same length, Sonic Generations, and that's a great game. The duration of that game isn't as much a problem as, say, Sonic Forces, and that is partly because Sonic Generations has a lot less automated, scripted sequences. It allows the player a lot more control, the levels feel more substantial, but either way, getting away from that, even with Sonic Generations, I was still kind of left wanting more. There was still an element of like, okay, I waited for the game to come out, and I beat it really, really quickly. I kind of wish there were a little more I could get out of this. With the open zone, I think Sega really cracked the code to making these games last a little longer. That's not to say Sonic Frontiers doesn't have some padding in there, but generally, it's a very long game that I enjoyed from start to finish. I think you could afford about 6 hours out of a Sonic game. But okay, getting back to Sonic Dream Team, if the only way of doing just moment-to-moment 3D Sonic thrills is to make a shorter game, and they want to just kind of relegate that subscription services and mobile devices, I'm actually okay with that. Honestly, I feel like it's a business model where everybody wins. We still get moment-to-moment Sonic thrills with subscription service games like Sonic Dream Team, while main console titles are committed to the open zone model. That's something I am happy to sit with. And when you throw in the fact that we're also getting classic Sonic titles as well, everybody wins as far as I'm concerned. And like the classics, it does look like replayability is a major factor with Sonic Dream Team, as there are various different goals and collectibles in these individual stages, like in the Sonic Frontiers cyberspace stages. On top of that, within these stages, we've got various different routes that can only be reached by specific characters. And this is where the team element factors in to Sonic Dream Team. This title has 6 different playable characters. So, first of all, I am so excited for this new era that Sega are ushering in of multiple playable characters returning to Sonic games. Even if I had my issues with the playable characters in Sonic Frontiers Final Horizon, particularly Knuckles, I did at least feel that Sonic Team had cracked the code in terms of how to utilize these characters without straying too far from the high-speed platforming gameplay that us Sonic fans want the most from these games. In fact, I feel like they didn't stray far enough, as the combat element was almost entirely neglected. Getting back to Sonic Dream Team, like Sonic Adventure 2, we've got 6 playable characters, but 3 different playstyles. Although I do expect a little variation for reasons that I'm going to go over in just a sec, but we've basically got speed types, power types, and flight types. Representing speed, we've got Sonic, obviously, and Amy, who appear to have the boost ability, while Knuckles and Rouge represent the power types. And I'm not entirely sure how they'll be going about this, as combat doesn't appear to be much of a factor in this one, but okay, Knuckles and Rouge, they can both glide and climb. Then repping flight, we've got Tails and Cream. So, with Sonic Frontiers Final Horizon, we had Amy, Tails, and Knuckles playable in a 3D Sonic platformer for the first time since 2006. Now with Dream Team, We have Rouge playable in 3D for the first time since, once again, 2006, and Cream playable in 3D for the first time since 2003, and playable in 3D for the first time without the aid of Amy and Big. This is huge. Now, as mentioned, there isn't any kind of combat focus in this one. It's been stated by the developers, this is not a combat-focused game. The enemy placements serve more the flow state that Hardlight Studios want to prioritize for this one. Now, I'm not sure what that means for Knuckles, if he'll just be utilized as he is in the classics, but with all that being said, I am hoping that Sega won't abandon the combat introduced in Frontiers for future mainline releases. For something like this, which is a mobile-focused title designed purely around the classic Sonic philosophy of flow-state platforming, fair enough, I say. But for future console titles, please Sega, don't throw away the strides you made with the combat in Sonic Frontiers. Now, as I say, I do expect there to be some variations between characters, as Amy likely has her Pico Hammer and Cream will have Cheese by her side. Not sure how much variation there'll be between Knuckles and Rouge, but yeah, I do expect there to be little bits of variation between all 6 of the characters, so even though they fit into specific playstyle archetypes, they'll each have their own little nuances. Also, one of the goals of the game is rescuing your friends, so I don't know if these characters will have to be unlocked over time, or if we can expect other characters to show up in the game's story. But for now, a return to 6 playable characters is a huge deal. That is incredibly exciting, and I cannot wait to explore these levels, which, yeah, as I say, look much closer in structure to, say, Sonic Adventure 1. These stages are supposedly inspired by Super Mario Sunshine and Tony Hawk, with a very skate parky sort of design, and that is something I've been asking for years, more the Tony Hawk influence than the Super Mario Sunshine influence. Sonic Frontiers definitely got us on a good track when it came to Sonic level design being a little more skate parky, but those open zones were still a little too reliant on rail grinding and dash ramps, and those elements were not congruent with the overall aesthetic of those levels. Final Horizon was a step in the right direction in relegating some of these more automated elements to the easy mode, so we've definitely been seeing more of those elements brought in, but with Sonic Dream Team, the level design looks ideal for the linear 3D conventional Sonic stage. This is what I've been asking for in a linear 3D Sonic game. At least how it looks on the outset for now. Never know, when you play it, it could be different. These ramps that look fun to fling yourself off of could be entirely automated for all we know. I don't think they are. Going by the hands-on impressions we've had so far, I don't think they are. But take nothing for granted, as looks can be deceiving, and this is a Sonic game at the end of the day. Expectations have proven to be the enemy of Sonic games in the past. Now, I did mention that this is a narrative-driven game, so following up from that, yeah, the game does have a story complete with fully voiced cutscenes, so expect to hear more of Roger Craig Smith's Sonic and pals. I am kind of hoping they'll stick with the more laid-back style of performance that we had in Sonic Frontiers. However, I am aware that that was done to accommodate for the overall somber tone of Sonic Frontiers. At the same time, though, I think that absolutely can work in a more out-there story too. I don't know, I just love the more mature approach we had in Frontiers, and would love to see that carried forward. That being said, clearly this game is not being treated as a follow-up from Sonic Frontiers, be it in gameplay or story, as particularly with story, with the gang's all here, where Sonic Frontiers kind of set up that there'd be some departures, with Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles all kind of going their separate ways and going on their own adventure. Whether or not they intend on following that up remains to be seen. I hope they will, and maybe we can see other characters get the spotlight in the next console mainline Sonic game, but for now, with Sonic Dream Team, the gang we know and love is all here, and again, this is not the next mainline title. This is a self-contained thing from everything we're seeing, so I'm fine with it being a lot more archetypal in terms of the lineup of characters that we have here, how their performances will be handled, their portrayals, etc., etc. Again, my expectations for a mobile-focused, subscription-based game are going to be different from that of a $60 console title. Now, this does lead me to wonder how the cutscenes will be handled from a visual standpoint, whether these will be fully animated in-game cutscenes or more akin to, say, Team Sonic Racing with PNGs of the characters talking. We do also see some hand-drawn animation in the announcement trailer, which looks positively glorious. If we're getting more of that, then absolutely no complaints from me. Hand-drawn animation in Sonic games will always be welcome, as far as I'm concerned. It just depends whether or not this is strictly made for the trailer, or if this actually will be in the game, because it won't be the first time. Sonic Forces and Sonic Frontiers, they had CGI stuff in the trailers, which was not in the game. Really shows what the marketing budget is. But nonetheless, I don't take it for granted. I hope the cutscenes are good. That's all I'm hoping for here. But if the animation we saw in the announcement trailer is anything to go by, holy crap, that is beautiful. Now, the story is that Dr. Eggman discovers a device called the Reverie, which is capable of manifesting dreams into reality, and so he uses it to reshape the world in the image of his dreams. And of course, it's up to Sonic and friends to stop him. Aiding them along the way is a brand new character called Ariem the Sheep, the guardian of the Reverie who understands its power. Ariem is designed by Yuji Uekawa, and I really like her design. This whole thing is giving me some flashbacks to Sonic Shuffle, and okay, hear me out. I've played Sonic Shuffle with my pals Nick and Suris, and the game is a fart. It's just a nothing experience. But it does have style. In terms of its cutscenes, its ideas, it has style. And yeah, it's very similar in concept. Dreams are under threat, and it's up to Sonic and his pals to save the day. God, I wish Klonoa were in this too. Come on, you can't have a dream team without Klonoa. Then, as for the visual presentation, I'm a tad mixed to more positive on what I'm seeing, as there are definitely elements that I'm liking here more than others. The general sentiment, I think, is that it looks a little closer to the Sonic Lost World aesthetic, which I'm not exactly jumping for joy about. As far as Sonic visuals go, I think there is a spectrum between cartoony and realistic. On one end, you've got Sonic Lost World with its very plasticky environments, very Mario looking. And then on the other hand, you have Sonic Frontiers, where the environments are so committed to realism that they end up lacking any kind of personality. Neither of these are desirable, as far as I'm concerned. I think what Sonic generally needs is something in the middle, where it's tangible and textured but still feels a little bit abstract. It doesn't outright lean into realism, but at the same time it doesn't look like something out of Fall Guys. I think for Sonic, at least in the aesthetic that they've been going for the past, more than 10 years, a more Pixar-y aesthetic is just right. Games like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, and Sonic Forces did a great job at nailing that overall aesthetic for their environments. That, of course, doesn't mean that they can't experiment a little. I'd love to see a Sonic game with environments akin to, say, Sunset Overdrive or Hi-Fi Rush. A cel-shaded Sonic game with a graffiti aesthetic that replicates Uekawa's art style is the dream, as far as I'm concerned. As for Dream Team, though, I can see what people are saying in that it does lean a little more towards the Sonic Lost World end of the spectrum with its more cartoony aesthetics, especially when it comes to the water. I mean this here, right? What I'm assuming is the opening level straight up looks like something out of Fall Guys, which I wouldn't call desirable for Sonic. But to the same end, looking at the other environments, we are definitely moving further away from that Lost World aesthetic, while still being, I guess, as cartoony as Lost World. I think it helps matters that these areas have their own specific theming that personifies them, rather than just grass, sand, snow, and volcanoes, which Sonic Team have leaned way too hard into at this point. The most important thing about these environments is that they do at least have personality, and I think Sega Hardlight Studios have absolutely nailed that. But at the same time, I can understand why Sonic Dream Team would lean into a more cartoony art style, as this needs to run on an iPhone, you know? I know that mobile phones these days can produce some decent realistic imagery, but I would rather see them do a really good job leaning into the cartoonier elements of Sonic environmental design than have the game crawling along on its tummy on the floor, popping realistic trees in and out with only a few meters draw distance. Wink. What I'm getting at here is, yes, the game does look better than Sonic Frontiers. From a visual standpoint, I don't doubt that Sonic Frontiers has a higher graphical fidelity. In fact, I can probably say that objectively, right now, Sonic Frontiers has higher graphical fidelity than Sonic Dream Team. I mean, surely, right? But Sonic Dream Team, at least from what we're seeing here, looks better than Sonic Frontiers, thanks to its superior art direction and the fact that these visuals actually succeed at what they are setting out to do. Now, that could change when the game actually releases. We may find that it has draw distance issues and whatnot. Again though, I'm not going to hold a mobile game to quite the level of scrutiny that I will a game that releases on the bloody PlayStation 5. Then for the music though, it appears we've got T. Lopes back in tow, at least to some capacity. The music we've heard in the trailers already sounds really good, but it also leads me to wonder, to Super Mario Wonder. Is this mobile game really going to have a better soundtrack than Sonic Superstars did? Imagine if T. Lopes is a full-time composer on this one when he wasn't on Sonic Superstars. I'd have so many damn questions. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked the soundtrack for Sonic Superstars more than most, but I could probably say with a full chest that I think it would have been better overall if the soundtrack had T. Lopes just make the entire thing. Classic Sonic is not Jun Senoi's forte. Jun Senoi is the man who defined the sound of Sonic in 3D titles, in the adventure games. Get him working on... Hang on. Sonic Dream Team literally appears to bring us back to the adventure formula in some way. Why not have Jun compose for this one and have T compose for Sonic Superstars? I'm gonna have a fucking conniption. And to be honest, this wouldn't be the first time a mobile Sonic game soundtrack is contending with console Sonic game soundtracks, as the short-lived Sonic Runners had a soundtrack that consisted of wall-to-wall bangers, including some of Otani's best musical contributions to the franchise, well, before he randomly popped off for the Titan boss fight tracks, which were the absolute hardest music tracks in the entire franchise that I am still addicted to this day. So in terms of gameplay, there's a few things that I would still like to know about Sonic Superstars. Do we have the spin dash? Do we have rolling? Will the other characters get some form of boost, or do they just run basically? Does the boost have offensive capabilities, or is it more akin to Sonic Frontiers? How's the turning? Because that's something that Sonic Frontiers really shined with in its open zone gameplay, and I'm hoping that's carried over here too. But aside from those burning questions, this looks really fun. This looks like literally what I've been asking for from a 3D Sonic game since like Sonic Forces. Do I expect it to be comparable to Sonic Frontiers? In some ways, yeah, but overall, no. Visually, yeah, it looks better, because I think Hardlight have worked well within the limitations of the hardware. Sonic Frontiers is one of my absolute favorite games ever made, favorite Sonic game even, but even I can admit that visually that game just doesn't look good on almost any level. There is one big fat monkey's paw here though, as there is with pretty much all of the Sonic games, which is genuinely annoying at this point, but here we go. Sonic Dream Team is Apple Arcade exclusive. I remember a little over a year ago I bought my Xbox Series S with my final student bursary, thinking smugly to myself, okay, I can now evade exclusivity. I got a PS5, an Xbox Series S, and a Switch. I'll never be caught out on exclusivity ever again, right? So imagine an absolutely incredible looking Sonic game launches exclusively to Apple devices. So before we move on with that, it's time for a quick wellness break with Coach Brett. Take it away.
Yo, Coach Brett here, interrupting the video for a little bit of movement. All right, guys, so we're gonna do a little thing called the couch stretch. So if you've got tight hips, maybe some hip tension, maybe you're going up the stairs and it doesn't feel that great, you're gonna wanna do this. So what you wanna do first is bring your foot around so that the top of your foot rests on whatever chair or couch that you have behind you. You're gonna wrap your leg around so that your knee is up. You want to tilt your butt in like you're driving it through your legs. And then typically, this is where you'd want to stay. If you want a little bit more tension, you just drive your body forward a little bit more. Hope this helps.
Hey there, Coach Brett here with True Capacity, your path to a healthier you. And at True Capacity, we've got programs tailored specifically for you. It's a bodyweight program that all you need is just your body weight, a little determination. We've got a minimal equipment program where you don't really need anything, just the essentials. And then we also have a full gym access program where really the only thing you need is a gym membership and you're good to go. So let's embark on this journey together and click the link down below for more details. Thanks, guys. Excited to see you in there.
Now, I'm a little bit of a utilitarian myself. I'd rather wrangle with buggy-ass Windows than throw more money than necessary at Apple's bougie products. I'm an Android man, not some girl who requires pretty brushed metal hardware with my name personalized on the back of it. I don't need tasteful minimalist art in exchange for a cash premium, and I sure as hell don't like purchasing mobile contracts. Call me an old man, but I was quite happy forking out the $160 on a Xiaomi phone and being done with it. So of all the things for a Sonic game to be exclusive to, Apple Arcade was not on my bingo card. Why? Oh why? Oh why? Did it have to be Apple Arcade? So I guess my verdict is, this game looks sweet. Too bad I'll never play it, right? Well, here's the thing, guys. I'm something of a YouTube content creator, an influencer, if you like. Covering Sonic stuff is kind of part of my job, and I don't want to let you guys down. My beloved audience, whom I care so much about, what would you guys do if I didn't analyze this one? You just have to do with that. Okay, I'm just kidding. I know you don't care that much. Nah, I wanted to play the game. And given that I made this purchase specifically for the purpose of playing the game to make content about it, that'll get me a little back on my taxes next year, thank you very much. So I took us over to my local sex store, yes, Americans, it really is called that, and picked up a second-hand Apple TV for £55. And what do you mean I've effectively got a smart TV now? Well, that's handy, and it consumes a lot less power for streaming than my PS5 does. Oh god, did I actually end up really liking my Apple TV? I didn't want to be a pawn in this capitalist game of yours, but I have to admit, thank you, Sonic, I actually really like this. Yeah, if you don't already own an Apple product and you absolutely must play Sonic Dream Team like me, I suggest you buy a second-hand Apple TV. As long as it can run tvOS 13, it can run Sonic Dream Team. Obviously, do a little research first, make sure it's the right one for you, make sure you can afford it. Don't forget to drink plenty of water as well. But it is easily the most affordable Apple product of the batch. I suggest having some form of Bluetooth controller on hand though. On iPad and iPhone, Sonic Dream Team will have an on-screen controller, which is workable but not ideal. But on Apple TV, you do have controller support provided you can connect your controller via Bluetooth. I did, though, for experimentation's sake, try to play Sonic CD using the designated Apple TV remote, and it was a frankly miserable experience. It'd be like trying to play a platforming game on a laptop, but rather than using arrow keys or WASD, you're using the trackpad, and then to jump you click the mouse button. That'd be horrible. That's what I endured just for a giggle. But I did get the good feature on Palm Tree Panic, so that's something. How bad can it be? Definitely hooking up a Bluetooth controller for Sonic Dream Team though. Now, from what I understand, the reason why this game is exclusive to Apple Arcade is due to Apple's own financial investment in the title. So it may be that without Apple's funding, this title may just not exist. I've seen some folks saying they'd rather the game not exist and just get a life, you entitled jackass. I'm not gonna pretend that this is an ideal circumstance by any stretch of the imagination, but exclusivity is nothing new when it comes to video games. For Pete's sake, I just got done reviewing Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which is PlayStation 5 exclusive, and what a glorious experience that was. Now, a representative for Sega Hardlight did state that it is possible that Sonic Dream Team could release on other platforms in the future, just not Android or Windows mobile devices. So maybe someday down the line, Sonic Dream Team could drop on Switch or PlayStation or something. It's not unheard of, as typically these Apple Arcade exclusivity contracts aren't exactly indefinite, but we'll have to see, as there have been some Sega titles exclusive to Apple Arcade that remained exclusive to Apple Arcade. The only thing I'm really not fond of about this is that if it remains Apple Arcade exclusive, we'll never really get the chance to own the game. But I guess the same is true of all video game media these days, as even physical copies don't run from the disc anymore. I just hope that Sonic Dream Team won't suffer the same fate as, say, Sonic Runners. But I highly doubt that. Obviously, I'm hoping this game will be made accessible for other players. But if it really is true that Apple co-financed the project, if that's what it takes to get this out there in any form, that works fine with me. I mean, also the game could be booty cheeks too for all we know. We'll have to wait and see. Granted, first impressions have been very good with folks who did get to play this early. And it does look great, right? It looks great. It's gonna be great, isn't it? Well, that concludes my pre-release analysis video for Sonic Dream Team. What do you guys think? Comment below, discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is the link to the Pup Pictures Patreon page, where you can be the first to get the insider scoops about upcoming Pup Pictures projects, which are fan films, and one of which is a Sonic fan film, which we've got quite a major update for coming soon. Other benefits are that for as little as $1 a month, you can get your name in the credits of these videos, or for $10 a month, you get a special shout out in a silly voice, like these folks in the $10 tier. I'm gonna do a Tails voice for this one, I think. So, here we go.
Black Goku, Dear Danny, Kale Bennett, That Jordo, Ken K of Warheads, Super Hyper Mecha SP Mark II, Spider-Man 2 still a week away. I'm never updating my oh wait, never mind.
What do you think? I'm not exactly Emmy Jones, but I don't think that's a terrible Tails, is it? It's a okay, it's bad. It's not good. I get it. Just get out of here, okay? I'd like to see you do better. Then in the $5 tier, we've got KLX, Richard Rogers, SSS06, Dazzle Fizzle, and Vera Wild. Thank you, folks, so much for your generosity, and to all of you at home, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. The video's over. It's time for you to leave. Oh, one more thing, sorry, before you go. The Sunset City podcast is returning to Fridays. We'll be kicking off with episode 118. It is the Sonic podcast for the classic and modern age, and it is hosted by myself and my pal Cyrus the Skeptic, Gilly the Kid, and Garrulus64. It's live every week, so come chat with us. That wraps it up. Now you can get out of here. Go, you may leave.